What's up, guys? It's Minx, and we're gonna come back right where we left off with the game with no engine. In the last video, we got the window set up, and we were able to draw a blue square called test object to it. In this video, we're gonna set up the input system. We're gonna create our player, and as a result, we may not use test object for everything. Test object may turn into testing ground for something else, but it's probably gonna get broken off, maybe collision enemy, or it might turn into the floor or something, but for now we're good. So let's get started. Input's interesting. So when I set the input system's customizable, it's a fairly, it's a simple concept, but it makes sense. So let's go ahead and set it up on our, let's do this. Let's create player.cs. And what does player.cs need? Player.cs needs an iDrawable interface because it's going to be drawn, and it's also going to need an iInput interface. So let's go ahead and make that new interface. I'll do a new item, and just like iDrawable, we're going to do an iInput, and that'll create an input interface. And inside the input, it's not much different than the other one. All we do is we toss in void handle input, and we'll do. It's going to take a list of keys, and I'll call it keys down. So if keys comes up empty, just do show potential and do using system.windows. So the way it works is window creates a window. Game window creates a window here in the constructor, and this window actually listens for input. So what we can do is use that to handle input for our game. So we can say window.key down plus equals window I want to get the key down plus equals window key down. Yep. And then we're gonna do the same thing for key up. So window.key up plus equals key up. So it sends the input, and we want to take something and do something with it. Now, we don't know what, so right now obviously we know the player. I have an idea of how the player's going to work, and already I can tell you the system's going to be the best way to do it. However, we don't know what other items will, or how other things will handle it. Like for example, we're going to do a level editor, the camera. Do we want to check for one input? Do we need the checking of multiple inputs? Probably not, but we don't know at the moment, or we don't know at the moment. So we have to bear that in mind. So what we can do is take that. We'll know every input that's sent, and what we can do is just say, I will make a private list of iInput, or not a private list of iInput, a private list of keys. We'll call it keys down. So this is a list of keys that are currently pressed, and what this will do is essentially say, so on key down, keys down dot add e.keycode, and then on here we'll just do on the key, or sorry, that should be remove, not add. On key up we remove, on key down we add. But there's something else we want to do. Now on the key up, it doesn't matter so much because a remove will remove it, and if it doesn't exist, it will return false because it failed to. But instead, we're going to do an if keys down dot contains e.keycode, not key value, e.keycode. Then we're going to remove it, and we're actually going to copy this over this whole if statement, and we're say if it doesn't contain it, don't add it. Now there's a reason for that. It's possible it happens. I don't know. I don't see how it could happen, but stuff like this does happen, and we want to avoid this in the future. Let's say it adds a key to the list, and then for some reason it doesn't remove it. Something happens and it gets on the list, and then you press it again, and it adds it again instead of ignoring it, because the list can contain duplicates. So. And then it works the next time you unpress the key, so then it removes it. We don't want that. We don't want to accidentally have like a character stuck moving somewhere. So let's see, that doesn't matter. So this is good. So now our list is set up. We need to pass that list off to any object that would handle input, which is exactly why iInput interface. So similar to our iDrawable interface, we're going to do a private list. list of I input. Call it input handlers. We'll do, actually, I'll do handlers. I'll do the vowels in this one because it's a variable. And then we got to make sure that keys down and input handlers are registered. So on load, and those are in a bad spot. But the thread starts before those act before the window handler exists, because those won't matter. Okay, so those are in a fine spot. So on load, what I do is say so there's drawables. We need input handlers equals new list of I input, and then we also want to do the same thing for the keys. Keys down equals new list keys. You need to instantiate those. That way they aren't chilling. We try and access something that wasn't instantiated. The reference exists, but not the actual object. So now those exist. Okay. So the next thing we want to do is actually create. It's so the I input thing is going to be similar to the register drawable. In fact, we can expand these and copy these over and just rename them. So register input handler and deregister handler. Now take an I. Oops, that gap in there. Can't type. Okay. These will take I input. And we'll say put handler. Same thing for this one. And then instead of saying this dot drawables dot add, we'll say this dot input handlers dot add and this dot remove. Yep. So same setup. This way, if we need to do something else with it before it actually gets registered or after it gets registered, we can. So we got the registers, the registry set up. We actually need to tell the game to send the input over. So we'll do in the on update. For each I input handler. We want that, and input handlers. Input handler dot handle input, and it'll take keys down. There we go. So now our any object that has an input handler will and does something with it, or well, it will get this method called on them, and then they will do whatever they want to do. So now that we've got that set up, what's next is let's go ahead and go to our player object. Now our player needs to be drawn and our player needs to handle input. So let's add those interfaces. So we'll say I input and I drawable. And now we've done them right, but they have errors because we don't actually implement the interface. So just go ahead and click on both of these, show potential fix, and implement interface for both. This will give us our draw method and our handle method. We can send those down to the bottom for now. And for now, let's go ahead and make a public constructor for the player, and the player is going to take a game window game similar to the test object because it needs to reference it. Game window game, and this dot game equals game. Alrighty, we got to do a couple more things in this constructor. That's not where I wanted to go. There we go. Alright. So, go away. There we go. Okay, so now we want to say, because the player needs to register these things, this dot, or not this, actually this dot game dot register. We want to register an input handler this, and we want to say this dot game dot register drawable. Not drawable handler. I think it went a little overboard with the AI there. Register drawable. So this will tell it to register those things, so it'll handle input and it'll handle drawable, which is good. The next thing we want to do is well, we are going to be handling the input. So we won't draw the player to the screen this episode. Well, yeah, we won't draw them because we'll have console.log to or console.write. So let's go ahead and come up here. And the way the player's what do you call it, input system works is we take a list of or not a list, a dictionary of action mappings, and we essentially check the list of keys against that dictionary and execute the actions based on the dictionary, which sounds a little goofy, but it's actually very simple. So we'll make a new dictionary, and I'll take a keys for the key, and then the value is a system.action, and we'll call it input map. Now this is pretty cool. This can be fairly generic, meaning you can do pretty much whatever you want. And then, like, let's say you have a bunch of functions. You say assign, you have a left, right, up, down, jump. I mean, I know up would be jump in this case. Fly, slide specific, or crouch button specific, or other buttons. You can do that with this and have them customizable by remapping or reassigning the dictionary, just by reassigning it, instead of hard coding these with a bunch of stupid ass if statements. So I hate this so much. So let's go ahead and set it up. For now, we just want basic movement, or we will add advanced movement, but until we know how that's going to work, we want to set up our basic movement just to get things set up. So what we'll do is we'll come down here. Say, to be honest, do these need public? Yeah, I guess they do public because it's so we'll make private void left input, or we'll say move left because we don't, it could be changed later. Make a private void move right, and a private void jump. So we got left, right, and jump for now. And in each of these we'll say console.writeLine, just because we want to test them. Moving to the left, copy, moving to the right, jumping. Alrighty, so now that we've got all these in, let's go ahead and come back up here. So we'll say input map equals new dictionary, key system.action. We can autofill this, and then let's get rid of the parentheses. Similar to how we defined some of our other things, we want to do a, I don't know, it does that every time. We want to open this up with curly braces so we can define the input map. So for now, I'm going to do 3 things, maybe 4. We'll say keys.a, comma, left, move left. Okay. Keys.d, right. And then we'll do keys W, jump, and keys dot we'll do, so it's a keys dot X, that's fine. I'm gonna do keys dot space. So now you can jump with either W or space. With that set up, we've got move left, move right, and you could either do W or space for jump. We could also add like left, right, or something like that. With that set, let's go ahead and come down to these. Well, we don't actually need them. These are already set up to tell us if they're being called. Now we need to actually handle the input. So how do we say ADW space actually calls these things? Right now they're just assigned. It's actually fairly simple. So we say for each keys, key, and keys down, if input map dot okay, it's very nice first. If input map dot contains key, then we say input map key as a method. Call it, it's not capital key, lowercase key, like this. It can be executed as a method because it is pointing to a method, and it knows this. This will mean when we press a key, it calls input map key as an action, and it will do left, right, jumping. So if we hit start, and we hold down D, it doesn't do anything, because although it's registered, it's not actually, I haven't actually created a player object. That is my bad. So let's go back to the game window, and where we created the other thing, test object. We're gonna do another discard equals new player this. So same thing. And that should be it. Alright, let's see. Oops, player is throwing an exception because we have the default implementation of this. So we're gonna comment that out. It's not gonna do anything for now. It's gonna have to have it, but yeah. Alright, there we go. No errors. Let's go ahead and hit D on the keyboard. Alright, we can see that each frame it's calling moving to the right. Let's hit S, nothing, because we didn't implement that. A, moving to the left. And W is jumping, space is jumping. So, very cool. We've got setups here. One thing that I wouldn't advise for this system, at least at the moment, unless we like figure out how to handle it, like if jump is already being called this frame, ignore it, is when you have W and space on jump, you know, it calls each frame, it says each frame it checks, you know, if W and space are both jump, then it calls jump twice in one frame. If jump is getting called twice in one frame, then it may end up causing an issue. So do like a bool, well, we'd already have a bool that's jumping, so theoretically it could only be called once. Anyway, so that's our basic setup for the input system. So as we add more things, we can set this up. In the future, we may end up adding like a little menu to like change this. It's like, oh, you can find this. I don't know about like controller support or anything, unless you map the controller to keyboard keys, but at least we got it set up with customizable mapping for the keyboard with custom actions. You know, you have to have the methods for each thing that you want the player to be able to do, and then you just map the button to that action. Fairly simple, and tell you what, creating the menu for it would also be super easy. So in the next video, we'll draw the player. We'll probably add the collision. Okay, so we'll draw the player, because drawing the player takes a couple seconds, a couple minutes. And then, oh man, collision. Well, we don't have to add advanced movement. We can just make it move and collide with things. So we'll probably do drawing and collision at the same time, because collision is not that difficult. It's a 2D game, and we're a cube right now, and the player is always going to be square. It's not going to be a circle. So we'll be using the standard AABB collision, which is very clearly documented. And then we can use a system, which I will outline in the next video, how to detect the movement and actually stop the player from continuing. I've done this in JavaScript, and we have a relatively, it's an interesting system to say the least. But anyway, with that said, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.